You're in a room full of people. Everyone's laughing, talking, connecting, and you're there too, physically present, but something feels off. You're watching the scene like you're behind glass. Everyone else seems to speak the same language, follow the same unspoken rules, exist on the same frequency, but you don't. You never have. It's not that you're shy or awkward, it's deeper than that. It's this persistent, unshakable feeling that you're fundamentally different from everyone around you, that you see the world through a lens no one else is using, that you're an alien studying human behavior, trying to fit in but never quite getting it right. And the loneliest part isn't being alone, it's being surrounded by people and still feeling like you're the only one of your kind. But here's what you need to hear. You're not broken, you're not imagining it, and you're not as alone in this feeling as you think. There's real psychology behind why some people feel different from everyone else, and understanding it might help you make peace with who you've always been. So let's talk about what's really happening when you feel like you don't belong anywhere. Because this isn't about being antisocial, it's not about superiority or victimhood. It's about how your mind processes reality in a way that genuinely sets you apart. And once you understand why, the loneliness doesn't disappear, but it starts to make sense.
First, let's acknowledge something important. Feeling different isn't the same as being different. Everyone feels different at some point, but for some people, that feeling isn't situational. It's constant, it's pervasive. It's been there since childhood. You've always felt like you're on the outside looking in, like everyone else got a manual for how to be human and somehow you missed it. And that's not just insecurity, that's your nervous system telling you something true about how you experience the world. Because if you feel different from everyone else, there's a good chance you actually process things differently than most people do. Here's what that looks like. Your brain might be wired to notice things others don't, to feel things more intensely, to think more deeply, to question what everyone else accepts. While other people are living on autopilot, following social scripts, going through the motions, you're analyzing, you're observing, you're wondering why things are the way they are. And that level of awareness creates distance, because you can't unsee what you see. You can't unfeel what you feel. You can't pretend things are simple when your mind naturally finds complexity everywhere. So while everyone else is bonding over surface-level conversations, you're sitting there feeling like you're in a different dimension, not because you're better, just because you're different.
Now, let's talk about something that doesn't get mentioned enough. Feeling different often starts in childhood. Maybe you were the kid who preferred books to playgrounds, who asked too many questions, who felt things too deeply, who didn't understand why everyone cared so much about things that felt meaningless to you. And when you're a kid like that, you learn quickly that being yourself isn't safe, that your intensity makes people uncomfortable, that your questions are annoying, that your sensitivity is weakness. So you learn to hide, to perform, to become whoever you need to be to fit in. But here's the thing about performing. It works on the outside, but it deepens the gap on the inside. Because now you're not just different, you're alone with that difference, and that loneliness becomes part of your identity. Here's where it gets deeper. For some people, feeling different isn't just about personality, it's about survival. If you grew up in an environment that wasn't safe, your brain had to develop differently. It had to become hypervigilant. It had to read between the lines. It had to notice things others could ignore. And once your nervous system learns to operate that way, it doesn't just turn off when the danger is gone. You carry that heightened awareness into every room you enter. You notice the tension no one else sees. You feel the energy shifts. You pick up on the things people aren't saying, and that makes you different, not by choice, but by necessity. Your brain adapted to keep you safe, and now you can't relate to people who never had to develop that same level of awareness. But here's the painful paradox. Feeling different makes you crave connection even more, because you're not actually trying to be separate. You're trying to find someone who gets it, someone who sees the world the way you do, someone who doesn't make you feel like you have to translate yourself just to be understood. And when you don't find that, when every interaction feels like pretending, when every friendship feels like it's missing something, the differentness becomes even more pronounced, because now you're not just different, you're isolated by that difference. Let's reframe something here. Feeling different from everyone else isn't a flaw. It's often a sign of depth. It's a sign that you're not content with surface-level existence, that you're not willing to numb yourself just to fit in, that you'd rather be alone and authentic than surrounded and fake. And in a world that rewards conformity, that rewards blending in, that punishes anyone who colors outside the lines, choosing to stay true to yourself is an act of courage, even if it doesn't feel like it, even if it just feels lonely. Here's what most people won't tell you. The feeling of being different never fully goes away, but it does shift, because eventually, if you're lucky, you stop trying to fit in. You stop looking for validation from people who will never understand you. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable, and you start building a life that honors who you actually are. You find the few people who speak your language. You create spaces where you don't have to perform. You give yourself permission to be strange, to be intense, to be whatever you are without apology. And when you do that, the differentness stops feeling like a curse. It starts feeling like clarity. But let's be honest about something. Sometimes feeling different is also a defense mechanism. Sometimes it's easier to believe you're too complex to be understood than to risk being vulnerable and rejected. Sometimes the story of being different protects you from the scarier truth, that you're afraid of intimacy, that you're afraid of being known, that keeping people at a distance feels safer than letting them in. And if that resonates, there's no shame in it, just awareness. Because the goal isn't to stop feeling different. The goal is to make sure that feeling isn't the thing keeping you from genuine connection. Here's the nuance. You can feel different and still belong. You can be unusual and still be loved. You can think differently and still find your people. The mistake is believing that belonging means sameness, that connection requires you to be like everyone else. It doesn't. Real belonging happens when you show up as yourself and someone says, "I see you, and I'm not scared of what I see." That's what you're looking for, not a world where you fit in, a world where being different is understood as being whole. Now let's talk about what happens when you spend your whole life feeling different. You develop a kind of resilience most people don't have. You learn to be comfortable in your own company. You learn to trust your own perspective even when it conflicts with everyone else's. You learn that your value isn't determined by how many people understand you. And those are gifts. They're hard-won gifts, earned through years of feeling like an outsider. But they're gifts nonetheless. Because while everyone else is looking for external validation, you've learned to validate yourself. And that's freedom. Here's what I want you to take from this. If you feel different from everyone else, it's not a delusion, it's not arrogance, it's not brokenness. It's a reflection of how you're wired. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's hard. Yes, sometimes you'll wish you could just be normal, whatever that means. But normalcy isn't the goal. Authenticity is. And you can't be authentic if you're pretending to be someone you're not. So instead of fighting the differentness, instead of shaming yourself for it, maybe the work is learning to see it for what it is, not a flaw, but a feature, not a problem, but a perspective. The people who feel different are often the people who change things, who create things, who see possibilities others miss, who ask the questions that need to be asked, who refuse to accept the world as it is because they can imagine what it could be. And that's not a small thing, that's a necessary thing. So if you feel like you don't fit anywhere, maybe you're not supposed to fit. Maybe you're supposed to build something new. Maybe your differentness isn't the problem. Maybe it's the point. Here's my question for you. Have you always felt different from everyone else? And if so, when did you first notice it? Drop a comment and share your experience. I'd love to hear your story. And if this video made you feel less alone, consider subscribing. We explore the deeper layers of being human, especially the parts that feel isolating. Next time, we're diving into why some people can't stop analyzing their own emotions. You're going to want to see that. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next video.